Happy Camper Radio starts in 3, 2, 1. Hello, my friends, and welcome back once again to the Happy Camper Radio Show. I'm Skip. I am a happy camper. And yes, my friends, we're going to make a happy camper out of you. And speaking of happy Memorial Day, everyone. I've been in the studio all day long. I've been in the recording booth actually recording some commercial demos, and I decided I'm going to come out and record this week's episode a little bit early because I want to get it posted online sometime tomorrow afternoon. Because I know with this weekend being Memorial Day weekend, a lot of you are going to be on the road, and what better program to listen to while you're traveling than the Happy Camper Radio Show. So I want to get it online and get it uploaded here sometime Friday morning so you can take it on the road with you if you happen to be traveling and going out of town. This weekend, a lot of folks are going to be traveling, whether it may be to visit relatives in another state, or I hope a lot of you are going to be camping somewhere. And if you are, hopefully you've got your reservations in. Because if you plan on just taking chances and showing up at a campground, hoping that some of the availabilities are going to be there for you, you may be a little disappointed. So before you head out anywhere, you might want to pick up the phone and call your local campground, your public campground, wherever you're going to be camping at, and find out if the campground is jam-packed or whether or not they have some reservations available. I know what weekends are like, Memorial Day weekend in particular, over here at local Stone Mountain Park, which is very beautiful. I talk about it all the time. Not very far from home. But I know Memorial Day weekend, I try to avoid the park, and I'll tell you why. Because this time of year, they kick off their sensational fireworks and laser show, which they run nightly there at the park. And once you get inside the park, you pay your entrance fee. You get in there, and it's free of charge. You just get there on the laser lawn, and the lights go out, and the sun goes down, and it gets dark. Wow, it is a sight to see. But the holidays, it's really tough to get into the park because they have two park entrances, and there are long lines of people all day long trying to get into the park. If you get there early and you go camping, the best advice I can give you is to stay inside the park. Do not venture out because you may have trouble getting back inside. But anyway, today we're going to be talking about Memorial Day camping and activities. And there are going to be a lot of them out there. And I thank you so much for joining us here on the Happy Camper Radio Show. Our phone number is 404-537-CAMP. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at Camp Talker, add us to Circles on Google+, and now subscribe to our brand new YouTube channel. So many ways you can connect up with us. Just go to our homepage, which is www.happycamperradio.com. You'll find all of our social media icons on the right-hand side of the page. You'll find them all right there. Take some time to browse around, look at some of the pictures. A lot of good, useful information there for you, too. Right now, I'm heading to the shout-out window. Let's say hello this week to the fine folks at Truck Camper HQ, Camping for Women Community, RV Furniture in Kansas, and Camping St. Louis. They're all following us on Twitter this week. Also to Michael Shane David of Calgary, Alberta, Canada, William Slavin, and Mobile RV Glass that added us to Circles on Google+. Thank you all so very much for joining us. Glad to have you aboard. And thank you for being a part of this great Happy Camper Radio family. Memorial Day, yeah, let's talk about that for a moment. As we are making our plans, as we plan to venture out on the road and take in a lot of the good sights and sounds and activity, let's also take a moment to pause and remember our fine veterans who served and paid the ultimate sacrifice. That's what Memorial Day is all about. It's coming up this weekend, Monday, May 25th, and a lot of folks have an extended weekend off work. I don't. I'm going to be working, and that's okay. I really don't mind it, but I will be off during the day, Memorial Day. And even though I'm not going to be camping, from what I understand, we're going to be having a barbecue on the patio. That's the next best thing. And if you plan on camping, I'm sure you're going to have your barbecue plans in order too. So make sure you enjoy yourself, kick back, have a great time. Make sure you have plenty of things for the kids to do because you don't want them to be bored. And take in all the excitement and the sounds and everything that Memorial Day has to offer. Those planning to travel this coming weekend typically get an early start. Some people actually get off work early Friday so they can get their Memorial Day travel in early. And I don't blame you for that. Usually right around rush hour is when it gets bad. And a lot of people, I live here in the metro Atlanta area, so there are many roads leading out of town. And a lot of those roads are pretty packed. So a lot of folks are going to be on the road. If you plan on going away this weekend, please allow yourself plenty of time to travel because you're not going to be the only one out on the road. And a lot of people like yourself are really looking forward to getting to your destination wherever that is. If you do plan on camping this weekend and you've got your reservations in, congratulations. But if not, and you really don't have any place to go, you might want to keep this in mind for next year. In future years, make sure you plan ahead, at least a few months ahead of Memorial Day, and start calling around then and make your reservations wherever you want to go camping. Because chances are at that time you're going to have a pretty good opportunity to find that your reservations will be granted and a spot will be available for you. If you can't find any campgrounds in your local area where you live, you may want to consider camping out in the rural areas. But still, I would call ahead. You might be traveling a little bit. You might be traveling on the back roads to get to wherever you need to go. But if you call ahead, you might get lucky and find that there are some spots available for you to go camping this weekend. But it might not be anywhere near the big city, and I don't see why anybody would want to be near the big city anyway. But some people like that. Some people enjoy it. And to me personally, whether it's local or whether it's out of town, as long as it's a family-friendly environment, that's all I care about. Now, if you're traveling out of town, and folks, we've talked about this before, if you plan on traveling out of town, please, whatever you do, and I know you're excited, and I know you want to get to your destination, and sometimes we run a little bit behind. But it is not worth violating traffic laws and getting yourself into problems with law enforcement while you are out of town. Nobody wants a speeding ticket. And let me say this. As a retired law enforcement officer, I can attest to the fact that in some of the smaller jurisdictions, the weekend travel plans for a lot of people give law enforcement the opportunity to set up speed traps in their community. And I'm not saying all communities do this, and I'm not saying all police agencies do it, but a lot of them do. And out-of-town travelers are very, very vulnerable. A speeding ticket is not worth it. If you are the breadwinner in your family, if you are the head of your household, if you are the one driving the car, if you're the one paying the bills, and you get a traffic ticket, it will ruin your camping trip in a heartbeat. Speeding tickets are not worth it. Actually, any moving violation is not worth it, and the fines can run into the several $100s. If that happens, it's not going to be worth your time and your effort to come back into that community to appear in a local court in an attempt to fight your case, which most likely you're going to lose. The fines typically go to support these cash-strapped governments, and local leaders see fines as a source of revenue. I'm sorry, there's no other way around it. These traffic fines can also generate points against your driver's license. They can result in higher insurance premiums for you. And me personally, I would rather keep the money in my pocket and out of the government's pocket. I don't know how you feel. You probably feel the same, but are not really saying too much about it. I have seen a lot of these traffic stops in these small towns. And a lot of times people just are focused. They've got tunnel vision, and all they're caring about, all they're focusing on is their time away from home, even if it's just a few days. And it's easy to overlook a speed limit sign, which may be in a small community, 25 miles per hour. But if you go above that and a speed trap is set up and they catch you and you get that ticket written on you, it's going to ruin your whole weekend, and most likely you're going to want to turn around and go home in total disgust, and it's going to be a big disappointment for everybody in your family. It's really not worth it. If you're running a little bit behind, take a deep breath. Put on some relaxation music while you're traveling. Maybe sing some songs with the kids. Keep your mind off anything but arriving late to your campground. Obey all traffic laws, folks. I can't say that enough. It is so very important. Now, if you cannot find a campground or a camping destination this coming weekend, and, you find out, this is just a last-minute thing, you want to decide, well, let's go pack the gear, let's go camping, but, you find out that all of a sudden, all the campgrounds are full. Consider camping in your backyard on Memorial Day. Nothing wrong with that. In fact, get some family, get some friends, get some relatives, and see if everybody wants to come on over for a cookout. If you've got a good backyard, a big backyard, and you've got room for other tents, why not? Make a family thing out of it, and you can have a whole lot of fun doing it. It's a safe and friendly environment for the kids. It will save you a ton of money on travel and camping fees, and the barbecue on your back patio will taste just as good as if you prepared it at the campsite. Coming up in the next couple months, come to think of it, will be the Great American Backyard Campout, and we're going to be talking about that too in the weeks ahead. So if you're not planning a backyard camping trip this coming weekend, you definitely will want to keep that in mind. This coming, I think it's either June or July, when they have the National Backyard Campout. And like I say, we're going to be beefing that up. We're going to be talking about it, and you can have just as much fun there as you can away from home. Now, if you're going to be camping in your backyard, some other things you can consider, outdoor games for both the kids and adults. If you're thinking about putting a fire in your backyard, depending upon where you live, what jurisdiction you live in, maybe you live in the mountains, maybe you live in the rural areas, maybe you live in the suburbs away from the big city. In any event, you want to get in touch with your local authorities to find out if you can legally build a campfire in your backyard. I know in the area where I live in, we can have these, what do they call them, chimneys. You can have a patio fireplace, one of these metal round containers like I have on my back patio. Yes, you can use that to burn, but take the safety precautions. Make sure you have a screen that's covering the fire, so the embers don't go flying all over the place. Make sure you have a water source to put that fire out, and keep it handy in the event of an emergency. Keep a fire extinguisher handy too, because you don't want things to get out of control. But it's going to be very important for you to check with your local fire authorities to be sure you're in compliance, and you don't have the authorities being called to your residence because somebody complained about the smell of smoke and was worrying about a house or something catching on fire. And you come to find out you're violating the law and end up getting a ticket at home. That's just as bad as getting a ticket on the road. In any event, whether you're camping this weekend or you're camping in your backyard or you're having a fire somewhere, by all means, keep an eye on small children. That is so important. They love the fire just as much as you do, but it's not worth you or any of your kids getting hurt. Now, what do you want to do if the weather turns ugly? Nobody likes ugly weather on Memorial Day. It can ruin your Memorial Day plans, yes, for sure. If that does happen, make sure you have a backup plan or a contingency plan in place. Always check your weather conditions ahead of time. I don't like camping in the rain. I don't like being out in the rain when I have to go somewhere. It just puts a damper on your entire day or your entire weekend. So if you're planning to go somewhere, always check ahead for a 7-day forecast, and you can very easily do that by going to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration website, NOAA.gov, and you can punch in a zip code of the camping destination or even your local area for that matter, and it will give you a 7-day forecast and give you an idea what the weather conditions are going to be like. That's one of the neat things I like about recreation.gov, which, we feature a lot of their campgrounds. In fact, this weekend I've got a great place for you to consider visiting. Not this weekend, of course, because I guarantee you just about every site in the campground is going to be booked. But they do have on their homepage of the individual campsites, they do have what the weekend weather is going to be like, or maybe a 2 or 3 day forecast. It's always there for you. So if you plan on at a last minute going somewhere that there's going to be some availabilities, you can look at the campsite, you can find out what the campground is all about, and right there on the page you can see exactly what the weather conditions are. Some activities you may want to consider, some indoor activities if it's going to be raining. Have you been to the movies lately? I haven't, but just about every week on television, there's always going to be a new title coming out. Some of them are ugly movies. They got a lot of blood and guts. They've got a lot of the guns and all this other stuff, the violence. Maybe you don't want that for your kids, and I don't blame you. But there's going to be some movies out there that the kids may enjoy. So consider going to the movies this weekend if by chance the weather is ugly and you're going to be stuck at home. You may want to also consider a trip to a local museum. Maybe shopping for some camping gear at an indoor flea market. Have you ever thought about doing that? Or maybe just browsing the flea market, getting around some people that you can rub elbows with and have a good time and be around whether you buy anything or not. Check your local listings to see if by chance there is an RV or camping exhibition in your area that you can go to. That can really build up your spirits. Here's another thing, too. If you're going to be at home and you're not going anywhere, consider watching some Memorial Day parades on TV, and there's a lot of them. There are some Memorial Day parades going on in your local community, maybe some Community Day events or Memorial Day events. Check with your local authorities to find out if they do have some plans in place. And here's a last resort you can do. You don't want to be sitting home doing absolutely nothing, but you can sit at home and watch some movies on TV. Now, here's some Memorial Day events you may want to consider if by chance you are away. Definitely recognize the National Moment of Remembrance. If you're not sure what that is, it's a resolution that Congress passed in 2000, and it asks that we all pause at 3 o'clock p.m. local time to remember and honor our fallen soldiers. On Memorial Day, May 25th, wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, take time to pause at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, even just for a couple minutes, and to honor and remember those who have served. Also remember to display the flag at home and at camp. Show your patriotism. See if there's any Memorial Day parades or activities in the area that you may be camping in. Something else you may want to consider too, and you can find some of these while you're away and maybe locally in the area where you live. Take some time to visit the National Memorial or some of the local memorials in your area. Visit the grave sites of some of the fallen soldiers. Memorial Day was once called Decoration Day. I didn't know that. I just come across that here this past week. But communities would decorate graves with flowers on Memorial Day, or Decoration Day, as they called it at that one time. Well, how it later became Memorial Day, I don't know. I'm not a real big history buff. I do enjoy a bit of history every now and then and take some time to learn it. But on Decoration Day, families would deliver flower arrangements to a lot of the grave sites and to some of the sites of their loved ones and ancestors. If you have ancestors who have served and they are buried locally, you may want to consider remembering them and honoring them by visiting their grave sites on Memorial Day. You can also visit local veterans' homes and hospitals. I know that may seem a little far-fetched, but, vets requiring long-term care or housing assistance can very easily feel forgotten about. They're in those homes 24/7. They don't get out. Some of them can't even get out the door to enjoy some fresh air without some people helping them do that. But maybe take some time and, call your local vet center or vet hospital to see if you can come on down and maybe just shake a hand or two and try to make some people feel like they're remembered and they're appreciated for what they did. It's a great time to let them know that they're appreciated for the sacrifices that they made, as well as their friends and family who were lost in battle. It's all about Memorial Day. Now, hey, if by chance you're listening to this podcast before Sunday afternoon, here's something else you're going to want to do. And we all have these smartphones today. I've got one. And I gripe about technology, but you know something? You can do so much with a smartphone these days. While you're away from home, you can check on your home. You can set temperatures. You can set alarms. You can lock doors simply by using your smartphone or your iPad. And a lot of folks have those, and the kids demand them, I know. Every kid that I know seem to want one, and they bother their parents for one till they get one. But they do come in handy. And the reason I'm bringing this, and I don't mean to run off on a tantrum like I am, but anyway, if by chance you've got a smartphone and you're away when you hear this podcast, definitely check your local TV guide. And if you have DirecTV, if you have cable TV, and you're able to set your DVR remotely from wherever you're at, find a listing for the 26th Annual National Memorial Day Concert. It's coming up Sunday, May 24th, 2015 at 8 p.m. on your local PBS station, and it's going to be star-studded. It's going to be very exciting. Check your local listings. It's going to be live from the West Lawn of the U.S. Capitol and hosted for the 10th year by Tony Award winner Joe Mantegna and Emmy Award winner Gary Sinise. Have you ever seen Gary Sinise in any of those movies? I love Gary Sinise. Whether he's playing the good guy or the bad guy, he is very talented, and he is also very dedicated to our soldiers and our military. I salute that man. You don't find too many actors in Hollywood that go out of their way to recognize the soldiers and the people who are making the ultimate sacrifice. Gary, thank you so very, very much for all you do in keeping us entertained and your dedication to the men and women of our armed forces. Set your DVR. If you plan to be out of town, again, you can do that remotely from your smartphone. And again, it's the 26th Annual National Memorial Day Concert coming up this Sunday, May 24th, 2015 at 8 p.m. on your local PBS station. It's time now for our featured campground of the week here on the Happy Camper Radio Show. I found a wonderful camping destination. I am not going to encourage you to go there this weekend because I can almost guarantee you that every site in this beautiful campground is going to be full. But since we're talking about Memorial Day and recognizing those who have served, why not consider, maybe not this weekend, maybe next, maybe sometime between now and October, the Matthews Arm Campground in Virginia. It is located not very far away from our nation's capital, And if you want to have an educational experience with your children, you can visit Washington, D.C., and visit the Arlington National Cemetery, the Washington Monument, the Lincoln Memorial, the Smithsonian Institute, just to name a few. But the Matthews Arm Campground is a very family-oriented campground. It's secluded in the thick trees and rolling hills of the Shenandoah National Park. It is an ideal spot for a camping getaway, whether it's going to be a weekend or a week-long vacation. The Shenandoah National Park includes 300 square miles of the Blue Ridge Mountains in the southern Appalachians. The park rises above the Virginia Piedmont to its east and the Shenandoah Valley to its west. If you love the outdoors, if you love the beauty of nature, definitely consider this location as a camping destination this summer. The Shenandoah National Park has over 500 miles of trails, including 101 miles of the Appalachian Trail. Some of the trails lead to a waterfall or a viewpoint, while others wind deep into the forest and into the wilderness. A lot of wildlife viewing in this area, folks. It's a popular pastime with black bear, wild turkey, deer, birds. So definitely bring your binoculars, bring your camera. If you enjoy wildlife, if you enjoy being just away for a while, it's a great camping destination for you to consider. Some of the activities and amenities are right there on the website for you to take a look at. They've got modern-day amenities like drinking water. They've got a dump station there, flush toilets, grills, hiking, a campground host, picnic area, trash collection. A lot of great things to see and do when you go camping at the Matthew Arms Campground in Virginia. And by the way, if you don't already have a recreation.gov account, you can sign up for one right on their website. When you check it out this week on happycamperradio.com, click on the featured campground button, and over in the right-hand corner, you're going to see sign in or sign up. It's a little gray button at the upper right-hand corner of the page. Just click on that. It doesn't cost you any money to register, and any time that you make a reservation at a campground through recreation.gov, it's going to make your camping experience and your reservation process so much easier. I have an account. I use it anytime I go to a recreation.gov campsite. But this campground here, it is open all the way through Saturday, October 24th, 2015. And one of the things that you definitely want to do is check out at the bottom of the page here some of the things you need to know before you go, and I don't want to sneak away without mentioning that. There are black bears and other wildlife frequenting the area, so visitors must follow all food and garbage storage regulations. There's going to be no RV hookups, but dump stations are available and potable water is provided. And a few other things you may want to take a look at. Check it out on their webpage. Know before you go. It's the Matthews Arm Campground in Virginia, and it is our featured campground of the week here on the Happy Camper Radio Show. And as always, if you have a campground that you would like for us to feature on the program, by all means, get in touch with me, Skip, S-K-I-P, at happycamperradio.com, and make sure that you send me a link to the campground website. Well, folks, that's about all the time I have. Wherever you are this weekend, whether you're staying at home, whether you're traveling out on the road or going camping or doing whatever, please be safe and take some time to remember those who served and paid the ultimate sacrifice. It's what Memorial Day is all about. Hey, thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget, you can catch us online anytime at www.happycamperradio.com. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at Camp Talker, and add us to circles on Google+. The Happy Camper Radio Show is a presentation of Skip Huber Productions. I'm Skip. I am a happy camper. And yes, my friends, we are going to make a happy camper out of you. Have a great one, folks. We'll catch you next week. You're listening to Happy Camper Radio.